In the age of viral content and binge-worthy docuseries, truth and entertainment have become, honestly, dangerously intertwined. What used to be confined to police reports, courtrooms, and trusted journalism is now repackaged, stylized, and streamed globally with dramatic music and cliffhanger cuts. But when a celebrity's life becomes the plot and the accusations are explosive, the line between storytelling and slander can vanish in an instant. That's exactly where Chris Brown finds himself now, caught in the crosshairs of a highly controversial docuseries that doesn't just revisit his past controversies, it ignites an entirely new firestorm. One so damning, so reputation-shattering that he's suing, not just for defamation, but for survival. At the center of this media hurricane is a docuseries that promised to reveal the truth behind the fame. A series allegedly packed with testimonies, archival footage, and damning claims, one of which, according to court filings, accuses Chris Brown of sexual assault, not in vague terms, but by name. The moment this detail became public, it wasn't just another celebrity exposé. It was a legal ticking time bomb. And Chris Brown wasn't about to let it explode without a fight. The lawsuit he filed sent shockwaves through Hollywood. It wasn't a half-hearted cease and desist. It was a full-scale legal assault, a multi-million-dollar defamation suit that names the producers, streaming platforms, and even some of the individuals featured in the docuseries. His team calls it a malicious character assassination dressed up as investigative reporting, and they claim it's not just false, it's dangerous. According to Chris's legal documents, the docuseries contains fabricated accounts, distorted timelines, and heavily edited interviews aimed at painting him as a predator. And that accusation, they argue, goes far beyond free speech. That's defamation with intent. But who's behind the docuseries? That's where things get murky, and, honestly, pretty scandalous. It was pitched as a raw, unfiltered deep dive into Chris Brown's rise and fall. But sources close to the production say several of the so-called witnesses featured in the series were paid for their appearances, offered exclusive deals, and in some cases, signed NDAs to keep production details secret. And yet, despite the high drama and even higher stakes, no formal criminal charges were tied to the new assault claims presented in the series. That's right. What was framed as a bombshell revelation on screen has never seen the inside of a courtroom, not even a police report. And that's where Chris Brown's legal team draws the line. Because here's the twist. Under United States law, the First Amendment protects journalists and filmmakers from being sued for defamation, if their work is based on verified facts or public interest reporting. But if a filmmaker knowingly presents false information as truth, especially with malicious intent, the shield drops. And that's exactly what Chris's lawsuit is banking on. He claims the docuseries producers knew the claims were unsubstantiated, that they cherry-picked statements from unreliable sources, some with clear motives for revenge. One accuser, he alleges, was involved in an unrelated legal dispute with his label. Another had already retracted statements in a prior incident, yet their stories were stitched together, given ominous music, and broadcast to millions as fact. And now, the damage is done. Social media was the first battlefield. Within hours of the series airing, hashtags like #CancelChrisBrown and #BelieveHer trended globally. Brands began reconsidering partnerships. Radio stations quietly pulled him from playlists. Even past collaborators began distancing themselves. In a world that reacts before it reflects, a headline became a verdict. And for Chris, this wasn't just PR trouble. This was career execution in real time. But the public reaction only fueled his resolve. Chris Brown took to social media with a raw, unfiltered message. This isn't journalism. This is a hit job. I've owned up to my mistakes, but I won't be crucified for things I didn't do. The post went viral. Fans rallied behind him, demanding accountability from the filmmakers. Celebrities weighed in, some defending him, others calling for deeper investigation. But the real war was only beginning. Behind the scenes, Chris's lawyers launched a meticulous operation to dismantle the docuseries point by point. They subpoenaed raw footage, they interviewed crew members, and they uncovered something shocking. At least 2 sources allegedly recanted their statements off camera, but were still included in the final cut. That revelation could turn the entire case upside down, because if proven in court, it shows clear intent to deceive the audience. And then came the second twist. So, one of the docuseries producers was allegedly in talks with a major streaming platform before production even began. According to leaked emails, the pitch involved, quote, breaking the internet with controversial content and rehashing past scandals. It wasn't about justice. It was about virality, about building a narrative that would go viral. Ethics be damned. Chris Brown's lawyers used that language to fuel their case, arguing that the entire docuseries was a pre-packaged defamation campaign, engineered for profit and timed to coincide with his latest album rollout. A move they say was designed to kneecap his career during a commercial high point. But even as the lawsuit pushes forward, the damage lingers. Booking agents hesitate. Streaming platforms algorithmically suppress his content. Award shows don't mention his name. And in today's hypersensitive climate, an allegation, true or not, can burn longer than a conviction. That's the silent cost of false media narratives. Even if Chris Brown wins the lawsuit, will he ever really win back the benefit of the doubt? Because in the world of entertainment, public trust is everything. And once that cracks, the cracks don't go away, they spread. Still, Chris isn't backing down. He's demanding not just monetary damages, but a public retraction, the removal of the docuseries, and a formal apology. His legal team is pushing for a court-ordered injunction to block the series from airing on any future platforms. They argue that if the legal system doesn't step in, it opens the floodgates for similar smear campaigns against public figures, using edited footage and unverified claims as tools of destruction. And the implications of this lawsuit go far beyond Chris Brown. If he wins, it could set a precedent that forces docuseries producers to adhere to stricter legal standards. It could redefine how truth is verified in entertainment journalism. It could finally bring accountability to the streaming world's obsession with character assassination dressed up as storytelling. But if he loses, the message will be clear. Fame equals forfeiture. And any creative with a camera and a grudge can rewrite your life. For clicks, for clout, for cash. So now, as lawyers prepare their next arguments and the court date looms, the world watches in silence. Not because it's waiting for the truth, but because it's waiting to see if truth even matters anymore. What do you think? Is Chris Brown protecting his name or hiding from the truth? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Like if you believe in the right to defend your story. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next update in this explosive legal saga. Share this with someone who still thinks every docuseries is telling the truth. And remember, just because it's on screen doesn't mean it's real. Stay curious, stay skeptical, stay tuned.